What's up guys, my name is Kevin Murray, and today I'll be talking about one of the most important things I have in life, which is called an emergency fund. It's one of the most important things to know about if you're financial literate. And you never know in life when things happen unexpectedly, from unexpected car repairs, like a flat tire, or putting a new engine into your car that could cost you thousands of dollars, or even unexpected medical bills that you didn't plan for. And an emergency fund is intended for these things, for unexpected things in your life. This fund is a pool of money set aside for you for these unexpected things. It's all about having a plan and just staying ahead with your finances. And most people in society don't have one. Over 60% of Americans have less than $1,000 in savings. And also, 99% of Americans spend pretty much all their money that they have and don't save or really invest into it. And the core of building that habit and being financial literate is knowing and planning ahead for your finances. And just having an emergency fund, which is like the first step in my opinion. And an emergency fund is supposed to cover between 2 to 4 to 6 months of your paid expenses, from your fixed expenses to your variable expenses, from rent to car payments to food to subscriptions, and for unexpected things. It might seem overwhelming in the beginning, but just run the numbers and see, where am I spending my money at? Where am I spending most of my paycheck? Sit down one day and just reflect, look at your bank statements, and see where your hard-working money is going to. Specifically emphasizing in this video, always have a plan. Back about 2 years ago, when I was in high school, I used to be a very materialistic thing. I was going to high school full time. I worked 20 to 25 hours at a part-time job at my local grocery store, stocking produce, making smoothies, and making juice. And most of my paycheck, specifically over 70% of it, was going into materialistic things like shoes, hype beast things, and things for myself that gave me short-term pleasure for myself. It didn't help me in the long term. Each and every single week, I bought something that was hype. I bought Yeezys or Human Races or the new Ultra Boost. If you're a sneakerhead, you know what I mean. Or buying the latest Supreme drops, buying Supreme hoodies, Champion hoodies, going to PAX and getting expensive jeans, and trying to, I guess, put on like a persona that I wasn't really that. Like in high school, I guess I really cared about dressing hypebeasty, being a hype beast and just dressing well and being, I guess, quote unquote cool. But I kind of like realized like in college, like it was more of like a trend of mine or a fad, and that wasn't really me. And like one day I sat down on my desk and just looked at how much money that I was actually spending on these things. Like, did I really need these things, or could I spend my money and use it to, I guess, help grow myself as a person? And after I realized that, I started saving all of my money. Stopped spending things on myself like clothing, shoes, because I didn't need it. And plus I had so much of it already. And so when I was in high school, I had probably over like 15 or 16 pairs of shoes like at my peak. And right now I probably have 9 or 10 at the most. And after going through that stage, I realized like there's more to life than having short-term pleasures or satisfactions. It's about really just setting yourself up for success in your 20s and just building core habits and that core mindset of just being present. And I found an app called the Mint app. It's one of my most favorite fintech apps to use for personal finance. And this app or website is free to anyone that signs up for it. And specifically, you could track your expenses from your credit card bills, and you could put everything into it. You could track your checkings, your savings, your credit card bills, your stock brokerage account, and your expenses and where your money is going to. And afterwards, just putting in simple information, and it gives you a pie chart too. After, like, most of my money was spent on the same core things each and every single week was the shoes. And then after learning that, I took and accepted that and started learning more about personal finance tips and empowering myself and knowing what financial literacy is and knowing like what to actually invest in that makes you passive income, money that you don't have to really work for in life. And one of the first things I did was to make an emergency fund. As a college student, I don't really have that much expenses. It's a case-by-case basis, but I'm just gonna give specific examples for myself. For a college student like me, what kind of expenses do I have? And it's usually car payments and college tuition, room, and board. And let's start with college. I go to a 4-year university 20 minutes from my house, so I save thousands and tens of thousands of dollars on room and board and food. And I'm not as distracted as going away to college, going to frats and fraternities. I mean, there's a cool things to do or bars, but there's more to life than that. So I can focus on myself and do what resonates with me. Number 2, I went to an affordable 4-year university, and I guess care about going to a prestigious school, going to a Big 10, or private school. Like everyone has that angle of just getting that degree. And does it really matter like where you go in the short term? Because companies are looking for you, looking at you as a long-term investment. What kind of skills do you have? What's your mindset? How can you help this company grow in the short term and long term? I mean, different schools prepare you for the real world in different ways, but companies are not going to judge you what school you went to. Sure, you might have a better networking effect if you went to a private university or more prestigious like school, and also just having that status of going there. But if you want to learn and just be quote unquote have a high awareness or just being smart in general, it's all about doing the things that people aren't doing your age, or just really just self-improving yourself as a person, having a balance of mind, body, and spirit, reading books or watching YouTube videos that are going to give you beneficial things. And going back to that emergency fund, like most college students I have talked to or my friends, like their core expenses are room and board, going to an expensive college they can't afford, and just having a car too. And those things specifically make up over like 50 to 60% of their expenses, paying out the student loan debt, new car payments, and just not really allocating like their finances effectively. And for myself, I save tens of thousands of dollars like I talked about. I'm staying at home, saving tons of money, going into state and going to a college that's about 20 minutes away from me, and having a car that's very reliable. It's going to last me for 10 to 15 years. You don't need a luxury car at this age like a Tesla, Mercedes, or BMW. Their parts are expensive, specifically the BMW and Mercedes. Why not just have a car like a Toyota, Honda, or Kia? I have a Kia, and I'm, I guess, grateful for this, but my dad bought me a car that's reliable, so I don't have to worry about it. So it's like a case-by-case basis, and I could use the money I earn each and every single month into myself, into paying the expenses I have, which are fixed. Like the expenses I have are food, subscriptions that gives me value. Like I invest into different Patreon groups for investing and just surrounding myself with successful investors that have like that same mindset, core mindset for me. I have other subscriptions like an editing software and thumbnail software too that kind of brings me value because of my personal brand. All about when you want to decrease your expenses is focusing on the big things, and the big things are usually housing and car expenses. How can I lower those bills? I don't need to be worrying about the small things. How can I decrease them? Like for housing, like I could split the rent with friends that are like-minded as me, or getting a used car at this age as my starter car that's reliable. It's going to last me 10 to 15 years. And after like decreasing those expenses, knowing how much you pay per month for housing and car, why not start learning how to cook at home? Like I used to eat out 3 to 4 times a week at Chipotle, and it adds up like $8-9 per meal, but you could save 50% just of that money if you cook at home, cooking like meal preps like chicken, steak, eggs, like simple things, potatoes. And you save so much money in the short term and long term. And just building a good habit, like, okay, I could cook for myself, and my cooking skills is just a really good thing to have in life to know. And I'm just giving like general advice or my suggestions of where you should put your expenses at. And just like really this emergency fund is all that. Knowing how much you pay per month for housing, your car payments, school, food, fixed expenses of your subscriptions like streaming services or investments into yourself. And like really just knowing like how much, where you spend your money each and every single month, you could plan ahead and say, okay, if I'm consistently paying this much per month, I have a ballpark of how much I am spending per month on average. And on top of that, you could add $1,000 or even $2,000 for unexpected car repairs and medical bills. And it stacks on. It seems a lot, but it's all about planning to take one step ahead. And my emergency fund is in my savings account. And I have between like 2 and 3K because of my expenses. Everyone is different. It's all about just starting somewhere and just doing it and just being aware like where you're spending your money, planning ahead for your expenses, and just doing it and taking action for it. All about building that habit and expect the unexpected and have a plan. And this is like one of the first steps of being financial literate. Take the action, and it's that simple. Thank you for watching, and peace out.